Hello, in this video we're looking at another OCR sample paper. This one is from their qualification IT User Skills. It's a level 2 paper on spreadsheets and graphs. So read through the scenario. It tells us that we're working in a hotel and that we need to produce some reports and graphs based on some spreadsheets that have been created. You should have these 5 files in CSV format, and your tutor will tell you where to find them. And we're going to use Excel to complete the tasks set on this data. So in the first task, we need to use the file week 3. And the first thing we need to do is to open it in Excel and save it as an Excel file. So I've navigated to the folder where those 5 files that I need are. As you can see, there's week 3, and Windows is telling me that it's a Microsoft comma separated values file. I could open it directly in Excel by double clicking on the file there, but I'm just going to show you what happens when I go into Excel and try and open it from there. So as you can see, that file is not appearing there at the moment because I'm only displaying Excel files, and CSV files are not Excel files. So if I click on all files, now you see that all the files that I expect to see there are in fact there. CSVs are basically a simpler version of a spreadsheet that Excel can open, and then you can work with them and save them in a different format if you wish. So I'll open up week 3. Now you'll notice that as soon as you open a CSV file in Excel, it's going to prompt you and tell you that something could be lost if you don't save it in an Excel format. So I'm going to click Save As, and I'm going to click on this box here. I'm going to choose the very top item in the list, which will be the most up-to-date version of the Excel workbooks that you can save on your software. And then I'm going to save it as booked. As you can see, I've actually already saved it, but I'm just going to write over this. Now it's asking us to use text wrap to display the column labels for a couple of columns onto 2 lines. So it's these 3 here: number of guests up to rate per night. So I'm going to click on wrap text, and that will put those across 2 rows. Now I need to ensure that all the data is displayed in full. So the easiest way to do that is to select the area that's got some data in it, go to Format, and choose Auto Fit Column Width. And now everything should be displayed in a readable way. Now there's some information about formatting. So the label The Royal Hotel needs to be large size and to go across columns A to H, and it needs to be framed by a border. So I'm just going to select that row from A to H. I'm going to choose Merge and Center, and I'm going to make that 18. I need to frame it with a border, so I'm going to click on my border tool and choose Outside Borders. Now, these other labels, week 3 availability and reservations, need to be medium, and in column A, there's no other information about font or borders, so I'm going to just go ahead and do that. So I think 14 would be a reasonable size. Now it's asking us to use a function to calculate the total of the number of rooms. So the simplest way to do that is to click in the cell and use auto sum, and then press enter. That will add up all the rooms. Now I can click in this name box here and just name the cell rooms, which might just be more convenient sometimes. Now the next thing I need to do is to make a total in the bookings area for all of the different types of rooms that have been booked. So I'm going to click on bookings. Again, I'm going to use auto sum, and that, as you can see highlighted, has added up the bookings for all the different categories of rooms for Monday. The easiest way to get that across the other days of the week is just to use that little square dot in the bottom right hand corner of the cell and drag it down and replicate. So for part 5, we're going to make a formula to tell us if occupancy was high on each day of the week, and occupancy is considered to be over 70% of the number of rooms available. So I'm going to go over into my occupancy cell. I'm going to type an equal sign because I'm writing a formula. Then I'm going to type the word if and open some brackets. You'll notice that we get a little tooltip there reminding us of the syntax of an if statement. So if bookings is greater than the contents of rooms times 70%, I'm going to put a comma now, and if it's true, I want the cell to have the contents high. So because it's just a word, not some numerical information, I'm going to put that in quotation marks. And then if it's false, I'm just going to put empty quotes to say that I don't want anything to show up. So obviously in the first one, nothing's shown up because 64 is less than 70% of 94. But if I drag this down, you'll see that some of the nights the occupancy was in fact high. Now we need to calculate the income for each day of the week. And the way we're going to do that is by multiplying number of bookings for each type of room by the rate for that type of room. And there's a warning here that we need to use absolute and relative cell references to complete this task. So I'm going to click into my income box, and I'm going to put an equal sign because I'm creating a formula. First one I'm going to do is the single rooms, the value of how many single rooms were booked, and then I need to multiply that by the rate for single rooms. Now the important thing here is that we need to make sure that's an absolute cell reference, because when we replicate this formula for the other days of the week, we always want it to point to that specific cell. We don't want it to move, even though the other values are being picked up from other days of the week. So the way we do that is to put a $sign in front of the letter that tells us what column it's in and the number that tells us what row it's in, and that's an absolute cell reference. So I'm going to carry on and do the same thing for each day of the week. So there's the completed formula. Press enter, and that will calculate that number for me, and then I can replicate it down for the other days of the week. I need to do some formatting now. The figures in the income column need to be integer or whole numbers with a currency symbol. The figures in rate per night need to have 2 decimal places, and everything else is 0 decimal places with no currency. So I'm going to go across to the income. I'm going to go into my currency. I'm going to choose pounds, it wants 0 decimal places, so I'm just going to click the decrease decimal button twice to get rid of those. I'm going to go up into rate per night, and I'm going to increase the decimal places to 2. All the other numbers are in integer format with no currency symbol, so that's that part completed. Now I need to add a header or a footer with my name, the centre number, and an automatic file name. After that, I can save it again. So I'm going to go across to the Insert tab and choose Header and Footer. And then I'm just going to choose File Name to create an automatic file name. So that's fine, I can save that. Now we need to print a copy of the spreadsheet showing all the figures. Obviously we need to make sure that everything is displayed in full. So I'm going to go across to File and Print. Have a look at my preview. Yes, I can read all of that, that's fine. So I just need to click on Print to print that. Now I need to make a printout of the spreadsheet displaying the formulae. It's asking me to hide the information in columns C to E, display the formulae, and set the page orientation to landscape. We also need to display grid lines, row and column headings, and make sure that everything's displayed properly. So, first thing to do is to select those columns, C, D, and E. Then if I right click in the top area here, I can choose to hide those columns. Next thing to do is to display formulae. So I'm going to go across to Formulas and Show Formulas. Now you'll notice that Excel does some quite strange things to your column widths when you show formulas. So I'm just going to sort these out myself to make sure that everything will be displayed properly. So as I'm sure you remember, when you see the arrow pointing left and right in the top, if you double click, then you can easily resize the column to make sure that everything's displayed. I'm going to go on page layout now, and I need to set the orientation to landscape. And I need to go into print titles and make sure that I'm displaying my grid lines and my row and column headings. Click OK. You'll probably notice a little dotted line here on the right hand side. That just shows me that all of this is going to fit onto one page. Go across to print. So as you can see, I'm in landscape orientation. My header's displayed, column and row headings are displayed, and all my data is visible. So I can press print. So all I need to do now, assuming I've printed it, is to save it as BKD form, and then that's the end of that task. So I'm going to choose File and Save As. This is a moment where you need to be a little bit careful just so that you don't accidentally save it over the previous file, but once you've made these changes and added the formulae. So I'm going to go into the folder there, type in the name that I want, and save it. That's the end of task 1.